Sum it up your sleeve, you wanker. What's going on?
Right. On that note, we're now live, guys. Right.
Are we live?
Yeah. We're good.
We're not. This is a test.
Trust me, we're good to go. Testing's over.
Go for it.
So.
Oh, then what's up? What's the point?
Right then. So big balls.
This isn't live, is it?
What's going on in the boxing world today?
Big
then?
Balls? You're having a laugh, aren't you? It's me, it's your dad, it's not John Fury. John Fury ain't here, man.
John Fury? Is he the
Fury.
Chinese? Is he the Chinese version, is he?
Yes, he's the Chinese version, Mr. Fury.
Oh, what a way to start.
We're not live. God damn it, we're not live, are we?
I promise your dad
How
we've been live.
How big's your balls, by the way?
Well, I've had to lower my seat, put it that way.
Oh, well.
Right then, what's going on in the boxing world today? There's a few news articles knocking about. To be fair, guys, we've been looking through various different articles before we got started today. There's quite a few bits and bobs dropping out of this Alvarez fight. There's a few things come out of that. We've got Golovkin kicking in. We've had a statement from Eubank. We've got Tyson Fury apparently going to be making a big statement in the boxing world. We can talk over that today, I guess. Where do you want to start, Dad?
Got to start at the top, haven't you, with Mr. Fury?
Mr. Fury.
Mr. Fury.
Mr. Fury.
Fury. Fury. That's all. No, basically. So, he's coming out with this jaw-dropping statement, isn't he? He's coming out with this news that's going to shock us all. What's that going to be? That he ain't going to retire? Or he's going to retire. Maybe he'll relinquish the titles and let Anthony Joshua fight Deontay Wilder. I don't know. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Nah, look, it could be anything with Fury.
We can only speculate on what it could be. We'll have to just wait till it comes out, really, won't we? So basically...
Well, apparently it's coming out. He's going to make a statement on social media today. He's all over social media, to be fair, but...
Well, he's top draw, isn't he, at the moment, so he can say what he wants. It's all about the money. It's all about drawing people in, matey. And that's what Tyson Fury's quite good at. That's what he does, doesn't he? He's a showman, top entertainer.
This is something. Is Dylan White got a rematch clause with Fury? He hasn't, has he?
I wouldn't have thought so. Unless there was controversy, unless there's some kind of, well, you know,
he's not getting a rematch with him, is he?
White was trying to shout after the fight, wasn't he, that he pushed him and he banged his head after he sparked him with that uppercut.
Nah, look, I think he's been quieter since that statement was released. I think he'd realised the public was like, hang on a minute,
we're not buying that.
You're getting slaughtered, like.
We're not buying that.
You're knocked out, mate. You're knocked out. He didn't bang. He actually, if you watch the footage back, he didn't bang his head. Have you watched it back?
Whiplashed it.
No, he didn't. He didn't bang his head. God, honest. You watch it back in the highlights.
Well, whether that's done and dusted, that's gone. Let's, I mean, I don't know. Golovkin's come out of the wood. He's crawled out the wood. He's now saying he's back in the picture, and they're talking about a possible fight with young Eubank, Chris Eubank Jr. Eubanks is wanting to fight with him. He's wanted to fight for a long time with Golovkin, but it's a payday for him. In all honesty, right? Eubanks he's not a bad fighter, but he's definitely limited. He's definitely limited. He's actually, in terms of his fierce reputation, he's not actually a power puncher. He doesn't knock people out with one shot. He's all right. His pace wins fights. Look.
His pace wins fights, but he's not a one-punch puncher. He has to throw 20, 30, 40 bombs on you to get you out of there.
Well, look at it like this. Him and Billy Joe Saunders had a canny scrap, didn't they? Eubank Jr. and Billy Joe Saunders. And we all know what happened to Billy Joe Saunders, don't we, off, what do you call him? He's just gone there. Canelo. And so I'm kind of basing it on that. And Billy Joe Saunders got destroyed. Didn't he? Off Alvarez.
But it was an eye socket thing, wasn't it?
But Golovkin, in my book, poses a more... He's dynamite. He's dangerous. He's
dynamite.
He's a power punching, accurate boxer, power punching machine.
I don't think that's a good fight for Eubank, personally. He's been fighting a while, Eubank, now, you know.
A lot of years.
People forget that. He's keep on talking about this next gen stuff. He's on to about his 4th or 5th generation. He's been fighting quite a while, man. And I don't know, I just don't think he's got it to be...
is he a world champion yet?
Well, how I think, is he one of those weaker world champion title holders? What do you call it, the Intercontinental or something? He holds summit, doesn't he? But let's...
So why on earth does he class himself as... Well, he's got Roy Jones in his corner, hasn't he? Now
we can all have Roy Jones if you've got enough money.
Blowing smoke up his arse. And we watched Eubank's last fight. And he looked kind of...
He's good, but he's limited. It's like, I'm not going to say he's European... He's limited to European level. I think he can box at a world stage, but he's definitely not an elite world fighter if he jumps in the ring. I think, you know what would be in a good fight? And I'm a little bit saddened, actually. I don't know if you've heard. Kell Brook, Special K.
He's retired, yeah.
He announced his retirement. He hasn't put a statement out on Instagram. But
I'm glad.
He did. Look, hey, I'm glad as well. He goes out on a high. But one thing's for sure, it's made me think a little bit more about that potential fight that he could have had with Eubank. Eubank wanted that fight. That would have been a great fight. But a dangerous one for Kell...
32, 2 losses to two great world champions. Kell Brook, he's got nothing to be ashamed of. His last fight he had against this fella... God, who was his last fight? It was... What do you call him? Bloomin' Khan. He fought Khan in his last fight.
Wait, they reckon Khan was injured.
Really?
They reckon Khan was injured.
So he's got another excuse.
But I tell you something, injured or not, he wasn't beating Kell Brook on that night. I'm telling you now.
Well, he might have had something to prove on that night.
Apparently his shoulder was gone. I don't know how true it is, but that's the alleged crack on the boxing circuit, that his shoulder was knackered.
So he retires with a very, very good record, Kell Brook. The special one.
Not the greatest Britain's ever seen, but one of. Argue that.
He's had 32 fights, 2 defeats of two outstanding world champions. Them were his only 2 losses.
2 times world champion, not bad, eh?
Well, how can he not be great?
Well,
he's great, all right.
You know, Nigel Benn had two world titles. He's up there, isn't he? He's definitely going to be in future debates, that's for sure, is Kell Brook. I like him, man. I think he's a likeable character. He was good for the sport, Kell. I don't think he got quite as much recognition he deserved because of Khan, to be fair. That's in fact, I wasn't planning on going on that topic. Let's talk a little bit about that. The whole shadow thing of Khan being the golden boy. He was the Olympian, boxed for England. He got brought up the right way. Granted, phenomenal talent in the amateur boxing scene. But Kell Brook had to work very hard to get where he got. He didn't have no help along the way, and he was always in Khan's shadow.
There was a lot of money involved with Khan in the beginning. That's what you've got. People need to realise that from the off. You know yourself, if you've got two lads up there who's very capable and of the same ability, that one of them will go forward. They both won't go forward. One will be in the shadows all the time, and that's what's happened with Kell.
It's just been too long, though. I think for to have lasted Kell Brook's entire career, for him to finally get out of his shadow, so to speak, in his final fight. But look, you can tell he was in his shadow. This guy was 2 times world champion, still unable to get that fight. If he had that fight with Khan 5, 6, 7 years ago, when it would have been more competitive, because let's not forget Khan, I'll still say it, glass chin, but what a phenomenal guy. He could rip you to shreds.
Tremendous boxer.
He was, you know, and I think it would have been more competitive 5, 6, 7 years ago. And then the winner of that, you know, you deserve to be in the shadow of the winner. I think
money dictated the way it always does.
He was the cash prize, wasn't he?
Boxing. He was the big draw, wasn't he? And I mean, himself, Khan has fought. How many world champions has he fought? If you went down his box record, you'd get a shock.
He's boxed a few. He's lost a few. He's been in there, he conquered the States. Hey, you know what? An admirable career, as far as I'm concerned. But I just think if that fight happened with Kell Brook a lot earlier, if Kell had beaten back then, I think he would have been recognised a little bit better in Britain, at least, as greater than he actually was. Look, you don't get the 2 times world champion for nothing. And I just think the public the general public, you know, your casual boxing fans, they truly don't realise and appreciate just how good Kell Brook was because of that.
He was fantastic.
Do you understand where I'm coming from?
You haven't really. It hasn't been to a wider audience where it should have. Like, I know what you're saying.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But to me, I'm glad Kell's retired because he's a nice lad. He's a nice man, and his heart's in the right place, and he's very polite. He's just got that something about him, Kell Brook, hasn't he? Hence the nickname, the special one. I mean,
is one then. Do you reckon? Nice lad. How many boxers have retired, came back within 6 months to a year, 2 years for the big money fights? Has he retired, or is he just laying low for an exhibition style fight with?
This is it with boxing.
A celebrity, because it's a different. You can retire and not be retired now in boxing.
Well, if he's announced his retirement, that only means one thing: bigger money if he does get called back. It's just a gimmick. That's what they all do, and this is exactly what Tyson Fury's doing right now. He's playing with the people, the boxing people, and he can because he's great, isn't he? He holds the people in his hands, and he can dictate what he does, when he does it, and all the rest of it.
Young Fury then.
Hey?
Young Fury, I seen something on Instagram.
Young who?
Young, what's his younger brother? There he goes, he's a relative. Tommy Fury there. I know you didn't want to talk about him tonight.
No, I didn't.
But
I'm sick of hearing about him, to be quite honest. He's, to me, I don't mean to be rude in a boxing sense. Yes, he's a boxer. How many fights has he had? 15, 16?
Five, 6
You're joking?
Fights. No, he didn't even have that many amateur fights. I think he got an area title as an amateur.
Good heavens!
I might go a little further. Someone in the comments, let me know. I'm pretty sure Tommy Fury managed to secure an area title. It'll have been the Northwest, wouldn't it? Which, let's face it, Northwest's never really been that difficult of a title to win.
An area title.
Northwest amateur. So
right. But you got the national championships 3 times.
Yeah, but this is the
thing.
And
you fought Burton, Jose Burton, who's Tyson's cousin.
Yeah, they're a good fighting family.
You fought them twice. You fought the Wards. You fought Tommy Ward.
Hey, look, different kettle of fish that, but there's something to be said about Tommy Fury, I think. I think he needs the fight with Jake Paul more than Jake Paul needs it with him at this moment in time.
Absolutely. Jake Paul's just playing with him, and rightly so, because I saw Jake Paul actually say, you know, listen, cut this bullshit. You're bullshitting me about this, that, and the other. With Tommy Fury this, Tommy Fury that. He says, man, I don't need this guy. I give this guy a chance.
Yeah.
And then it went through the roof. Like, oh, it's the next best thing. Jake Paul just like, hey, fuck it, I'm not interested.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't blame him.
It's something that I think Tommy Fury is a professional fighter with a young career. He's a young man. He's early on in his professional career. His last fight, bit of a step up for his caliber. He performed all right. We can't say he didn't. He beat the lad, okay?
Are you being honest?
Does he? Well, yeah. This is the thing. But you know, how many more of those fights does he actually need? I think he needs quite a few, to be fair. I look at these fighters in reference to the all-time greats, and all of the all-time greats had an easy-ish ride for the first 5 to 15 fights. That goes without saying.
Is he super middleweight? Is he light heavy? What weight is he? What weight's Fury?
I think he's a bit lighter. 90? I think he's a bit lighter than Jake Paul, who's a cruiserweight.
Well, this is where I have to say, even with the lack of experience that Jake Paul's had up to this point, He's probably got far too much for him, for Tommy Fury.
He's got too much
size and strength.
He can bang you clean out, man.
Well, you've got to catch up. He's a bit of a boxer, Fury.
You don't have to like someone to appreciate that they can bang. And you've got to think of it logically, man. We know plenty of people on the streets of Sunderland who never couldn't lace a boxing glove up, but they can bang, and if they catch you, they're going to clock you. We know plenty of them type of guys who've never laced a glove on, but the game is hell.
Well,
now, would Jake Paul be that type of guy if he didn't box? You'd think he's a game lad. He wants to go, man.
We went. I'm going off the subject a tiny bit here, but I just want to put things into perspective. We went to a gym for a good few years, Plains Farm, where you represented Plains Farm in Sunderland.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm looking at Jake Paul, and he would have done well in the sparring sessions at Plains Farm. He was that type of fighter, a rough and ready brawler. And how many times do we say that at Plains Farm?
You've got to respect guys like that, man. Plenty of guys who haven't got the boxing ability or this, that and the other. He's fighting on a world stage. I think it suits him anyway because he's an entertainer first and foremost, been on YouTube for quite a while. And he's used to the crowds. The crowds don't faze him. I think a big step up in opponent for Jake Paul wouldn't be too much of a step up, if I'm honest with you. Mentally, that is. I think he can take the steps up. Is he doing things realistic? Is he doing it with a clear mindset? I think he is. Remember this, right? Getting on to yesterday's topic about can Jake Paul beat Canelo? Quite a few people were
I'm not a Jake Paul fan, mind. I'll tell you that for now.
Quite a few people were a fan of what you were saying, and they disagreed with me. That's fine, but hear me out, right? Jake Paul is not saying he can beat Canelo right now. He's saying 2 or 3 years' time from now.
Yeah, after he's had a few
and we've
pizzas.
already seen that, he's put a bit of weight on to fight this Dimitri guy, and he came off second best, and he didn't win any more than 3 rounds in that fight.
He could not beat Alvarez in 10 years' time. Not fucking 3 years' time, in 10 years' time. I'm telling you.
Disagree, man.
Eddie Hearn was absolutely spot on. Unless somebody chucks him a big bone with a load of meat on it, 100, I don't know, 100, a million, 10 million, 20 million, I don't know. Unless somebody does that to him, he can't get beat.
Here we go. What's Jake Paul's chance then? What's he got a chance of doing in that fight?
With Canelo?
Aye, tell us. Jake Paul's 6'1", man. Canelo's 5'8".
Yeah, I know that.
He's 5'8". Canelo boxed shit against that Dimitri. He's 6 foot tall, I think. 5'11", something like that.
Bivol was a
Dimitri.
He's a good lad, in mind, right? Bivol.
Listen, man, Dad. He's a taller guy, rangier guy.
Canelo is a middleweight. He's not a bloody light heavyweight, man.
So you're telling me he ain't got a chance with Jake Paul, who's 6'1", cruiserweight, happy, comfortable at the weight, and can knock you into tomorrow? I'm not a fanboy of Jake. I don't like the kid.
I disagree with
but I think
Canelo will absolutely punch the man to death.
How will he get in with that guy? I don't see it.
How can he not? He's far better boxer. He can dig a bit and he beat him. He beat him hands down.
Well, I tell you what, then we'll have a bet.
I bet you anything you want, matey.
I wouldn't bet £1,000.
But we can't have a bet because at the end of the day, behind the scenes, when things is worked out, we don't know who's going to be paid.
Let's forget about money then.
Paid just to be in there.
We'll have a bet on here just for argument's sake, so we can revert back to this footage. Looking at that camera right there, I bet you it might be in a year, 2 or 3 years time. If Jake Paul fights Canelo, he beats him, and we'll revert back to this footage right here.
Okay.
Podcast number 3. There you go.
Okay. He'll never beat him in a month of Sundays.
Shake on it then. I bet he does.
Never beat him in a month of Sundays. It's impossible.
In a thunder month? What? No, in a month of what?
A month of Sundays. Month of Sundays. Fucking hell. It kind of. Where's your? You've gone crazy. What's happened to you? You were never a Jake Paul fan. What the hell's happened? You're doing everything but lick the man's ass.
Here, pass me that beer.
And how big's his balls? Because you'd be licking them and all. If you say, I didn't get it. I honestly don't get it. How can the world be fooled into thinking that this man can? Fuck me, man. He's fooled you all, man.
I don't know about that.
John Fury was kind of right when he said, he's saying, oh man. Can we just get off the subject of this shit? I'm sick to death of this shit. This is not boxing. This is
the third podcast in, and
this is not boxing talk as far as I'm concerned. It's bullshit.
Right? Do you agree with him or do you agree with me?
Circus.
Get some comments below.
It's a circus, man. He's a circus act, Jake Paul.
Hey, I tell you what, he is though. But
he's a circus act.
Mike Tyson's on his side. He's got Evander Holyfield on the team.
Mike Tyson's 96-year-old. He's down in the ring with him.
Look,
Mike Tyson beat him at 90-year-old.
I used to be of the same wavelength.
No, I know what you're saying.
And then I kept on seeing him win, man. And I tell you something.
Win?
I used to
5
give him
fights
shit.
I've seen him win.
Do you not know who?
He's had
Here we
5
go.
fights, man.
Many people might think they actually hate True Geordie because of a couple of videos I did on him. I don't dislike True Geordie.
Good lad. I've watched his.
He's a good lad, right?
I've watched his podcast. They're fantastic.
Brian, if you're watching, we love you, brother.
He's up on his knowledge of things,
He
and
knows-
he's in with the right people.
I like his mentality, and he's been getting a bit of shit actually for.
Because he's famous.
Well, no, for everyone reckons he's a massive fanboy of Jake Paul as well. But he's
like you.
But he's Jake. The thing is, though, he's Jake Paul's mate first and foremost,
he's
right?
met Jake Paul.
He knows Jake Paul, the goon, the guy who messed about and stuff, and the YouTube prankster, all of that, right?
Fair dues.
But he also said the same stuff then as he's saying now. So he's not a fanboy. He's been saying this stuff all along about him. You
Hence
know?
the name,
And,
True Geordie. He's been true.
you
He's telling you exactly how it is.
I think he's bang on, and half of my information that I get on the subject, I actually go to him for reference, to be honest with you, because I think he hasn't really been wrong when it comes to Jake Paul and the Paul brothers, to be fair.
But he's very real about their capabilities as well, isn't he? As boxing goes.
He's not saying they're going to be world champions or out like that. But has he got the beating of a world champion? Hey, yeah. I tell you something. While we're on the subject of beating world champions, we've seen amateur boxers, right? We'll not mention any names for obvious reasons. We've seen amateur boxers, 14, 15-year-old. I might have even been in the boxing ring with them. Former world champions, former contenders, right?
Yeah.
Granted, they might have been at the lower weights. What happened to them world champions in local sparring sessions? They got absolutely paggered, and that's not us. Tell you something. Is that the truth?
It's the truth, and that was at Plains Farm Gym.
So is it possible?
Sunderland.
So is it possible? Is it possible for a world champion to get beat off someone who, in my opinion,
here we go again. You're not reverting back to the.
Let's just use people like him.
Right, as reference. Okay.
It's possible, man. We think.
I'm not saying
it's
not possible, but man, it's unthinkable to think that you can. It's like
because we don't want to accept
it.
We don't want to accept that is a possibility in boxing. It upsets us, man.
Look. I'll go back to Mayweather and Conor McGregor.
All right.
Right. I'll go back to that fight. Now, Conor McGregor did far better than anybody could imagine.
Conor McGregor.
Mike Tyson summed it up.
He did 10 rounds with one of the greatest fighters who's ever lived. Do you like Mayweather?
Well, he was phenomenal, wasn't he?
I'll say it on camera. I don't care if I was to meet him today. I can't stand the bloke. I don't like where he stands for. He chucks money down at poor people, and you've seen it on.
He's obnoxious.
I don't like the bloke, right? But I tell you something.
In a boxing sense, he's fantastic.
Is he one of the greatest fighters in the past 100 years?
Absolutely.
You can't. If you disagree with that, you're not a boxing fan. You know jack shit.
He ain't no Roberto Duran listen.
He'd have found a way to beat Roberto, though. That's the thing.
He was great. He wouldn't have beat Roberto in his prime. No ifs and no buts. I'm telling you.
I like Roberto.
You wouldn't have beaten Duran at the lightweight in the 1970s. He was a legend, man.
He wouldn't have beaten Duran as a lightweight.
I'll tell you, he would have struggled with Julio Cesar Chavez. Chavez would have given the Oscar De La Hoya would have given. I know they fought, but I'm talking about 10 years prior to when they fought.
Hey, I tell you something, mind. You watched that Oscar De La Hoya Mayweather fight back.
Fantastic. Oscar De La Hoya beat him.
I still have De La Hoya has beaten him in that fight, mind. And I'm going off the American. Maybe it's not today's judging system in America, but the 80s, the 90s judging system, the way it worked, they favoured the aggressive fighter. They wanted to see who's coming forward to try and take the titles off the next man. And they favoured that fighter. You could have been the classier boxer, getting a couple of clean shots in, but if you weren't taking the fight to the other man, you lost the fight. That's how it used to be.
Going back to Mayweather and Conor McGregor, and a question was put to Mike Tyson about Conor McGregor and did he deserve to be in there and this, that and the other. How do you think, he says, do you think he done well, Mike? And Mike went, he's just went 10 rounds with Floyd Mayweather. Whether he's been in shape.
Doesn't matter.
He says, how many people do you know would get in there and gone 10 rounds with that man without getting stopped or knocked out?
If Mike Tyson said it, it's right. You're not getting any more honest than Mike, are you?
Wow, man.
unbelievable.
Conor McGregor, going off the subject again, fantastic.
Wait, to be fair, we wanted to, guys, if you enjoy the format, if you've made it this far, we want to kind of create an atmosphere where you're in conversation with us. Sometimes we've got a topic that we want to talk about. Dad, if we get on a topic, we're talking about it all night long. But sometimes, guess what? I'm not joking. All we've done today is turn the cameras on. We were talking for 15, 20 minutes before we even pressed play. Hence, we're all laughing, tatting the mick out of each other.
There's nothing scripted. So there's nothing. Is it just?
This is what we
real?
do. So if there's not a topic, there's not a topic. But there's one thing for sure.
Let the viewers,
we're going to talk just boxing. That's it.
Let the viewers decide who they want to talk about. If they want to go into discussion about any fighter from any era across the board, we'll do it. I can do it. We'll do it.
Drop
it's
a
not
comment
a problem.
below. If you want to speak to me, Dad, if you want to speak to me, obviously, just type in tag King Balls, King Dong, and then tag me. And if you want to speak to,
leave it out, man.
Want to speak to this bloke out here? Just type in big balls.
Big balls. Big balls. Yeah, right. Fuck me. I'm like 5 foot.
King Dong over there.
No.
We've got his seat on fully erect because he's quite small, so he's got his swivel seat up. Mine's as low as it can go.
Well, mine's on. Well, I've got my feet on the bottom, so not quite. Size doesn't matter, does it? Here we go.
Well, I tell you what, Canelo.
I've just tripped myself up. Haven't I? Size doesn't matter. Or have I tripped myself up? No, I haven't, because the littler guy, like I said, Canelo, he can stuff Jake Paul. He's getting better. I have to say it. He's had 5 fights. He has progressed slightly. And everybody's looking at, but he knocked this guy out. He knocked him out. He hit him with the right.
Tell you what.
It almost looked like he stood still to let him hit him.
Here we go. I guarantee you might not like him now.
To hell with Jake
But you'll
Paul.
like him in the future.
Really?
You'll start liking that guy.
Right, and put 20,
I don't think he's going to be... The more fights he has, the less of a gimmick he becomes.
He can put 20 million towards a channel, and I like him, man.
Here
I
we
like
go.
him. You know what I'm saying?
What did I think of Tyson Fury in his first 15 fights, 20 fights? I didn't like him until he came back. I'll put that out here now. I did not like Tyson. I thought he was a good bloke, but I didn't like him as a fighter.
Do you know what?
I love him as a fighter now.
If I'm to be honest, when I look at the earlier part of Tyson Fury's fights, the likes of John McDermott, and he struggled. He struggled a bit with John McDermott. I think he'll openly admit that.
He had some wars with John McDermott.
Was a firm test, right? And he had 2 fights, and then he put the record straight in the second fight. But coming away from there, something happened to that man. Something happened.
Well, he nearly did himself out, didn't he?
Something happened in here to that man, and he just fucking changed, man.
It's phenomenal.
He changed.
He's a different spirit.
And you look at him now, and he's this upright fucking colossal
gentleman.
He's a wonderful bloke.
I didn't like him before. I love him.
He's a wonderful.
I like him now.
You're missing the point. He's saying he's going to retire now.
But my point is...
And I'm like, for God's sake, Tyson, this is the start of you being the best heavy... Well,
I think he's not quite... Imagine some... The thing is, super fights, who does he fight?
He's got the Kronks behind him now, hasn't he? He's got the Kronks power.
Who does he fight, though? There's only... Look, Usyk isn't a super fight.
No.
Usyk's a blown-up light heavyweight.
He's a middleweight.
Right, he's blown up. I love Usyk. He's a fantastic fighter, but he's a blown up light heavy. And there's one fight that we need to see, and that's Joshua. Depending on how that fight is, I predict that Joshua's going to have the fight of his life in there. It's going to be a great performance by both of them. If it is that prediction, they have to have at least 2 fights. But then
might even be 3.
But you tell me this: who else is there?
At this moment in time, Gerard Miller and a few others. I've looked at some of these contenders that
Dad, these fights don't set him up for greatness.
No, they don't. They don't even deserve to be in the same ring as him like now. But I don't know, man. I really don't. There's not many. He hasn't got many options now. That's why he's probably thinking, I'll get into the other side of things in, I don't know, wrestling and get 50 million pound or whatever, and then...
Look, I know what I would be doing.
He can pick easy money up anyway he wants. He's the top man, isn't he?
I think it's legacy for him. There's a few fights left in him yet.
We'll see tonight. Fight Joshua, mind you.
We'll keep you. He has to fight him.
He cannot not fight him.
It'll be a missed opportunity of a lifetime. I tell you what, that'll be. It'll be worse than the fact that, remember when that whole Pacquiao Mayweather thing nearly didn't happen, and it didn't happen for a long time. That's what it's like. If it doesn't happen, it's going to be just as bad as that.
Tyson Fury might just this what's coming out now. We might say, "Hey, Joshua, you have the belts. I'm retiring, and then I'll come back out of retirement and fight you and get all the and you know."
Hey,
wait,
tell you what, you might be onto something there. And he becomes, you know something. You might be onto something there.
He's going to relinquish the titles. Hey, them's yours.
And come back and fight for them again.
Well, no,
here we go.
He'll fight.
The public and Eddie Hearn and everyone will demand that, regardless of what people say, that fight has to happen. You know what? Tyson Fury is, I don't want to say the word crazy because of mental health and stuff, but I'm going to use it in the way that everyone knows. I'm not saying he's crazy, but he's crazy enough to do something like that.
Oh no, I think he's intelligent enough to do something like that.
That's probably a better way of saying it. To be honest with you,
he's intelligent enough to do something. Tyson's fucking switched on up here, man. He's brilliant.
So I think that is the final thought. I didn't expect to go that way. I think that's the final thought. What do you think, guys? Let us know in the comments.
Who's going to get the titles if he packs in?
I think Tyson Fury. You know what? I'm going to steal that what you said. Tyson Fury. There's more of a chance. You're right that he relinquishes the titles. Whoever wants to fight over them, I'm not sure how it works. It probably is the winner, whoever, and then he fights.
Usyk's going to fight Joshua again. Mm-hmm. He gets the titles back. You know, I don't know, and then all of a sudden, Tyson comes out of retirement, fights for the whole lot with...
And he has to fight...
With who?
He has to fight him.
Joshua.
Well, troops, you heard it here first. Dad, you might be crazy, but there's one thing for sure.
Damn, I'm crazy.
You've got big balls, and we'll leave it on that.
No, I haven't. I used to have. Not now.
See you later.